So if we stay steady on this front, controls and viewability, and if we have new inventory types that are, let's say, ricocheting and bouncing, it's way easier and better to see that at a perpendicular view than on an angled, deep space view. And so we weighed those things together, and out of that, we came up with two systems that we said these are going to be critical to making what we're for a term to talk to for your own production people, your own staff and all. We're calling this 2.9D. What it is we're still playing in a very 2.5D-ish way in combat and stuff. Your controls will be perfectly consistent, but you're moving through the world in more 3 dimensions, and you're going around the world, and you can preview your levels ahead. And that was something like even back to Abe's Odyssey, we were doing like, okay, I come into a level and Paramonia is off in the distance. Now you can only walk right or left, but eventually you'll get there.
I remember specifically looking at that and being inspired by it and going, wow, they're building something that really feels 3D, but the controls are simple enough that I don't feel overwhelmed, right? Where I can actually hack it, I can handle it. Anyway, sorry, just that's from the past. And I remember specifically when the first time you did that in your games, and it was super cool. But go ahead.
And I got that from Myst. Oddly enough, because in Myst was the first time I was looking at a game and I go, the visual beauty of seeing the clock tower in the lake was like, I want to get there. And usually in games to that point, right, was, let's say in scrolling games, I'd come upon a vision, left or right, but it wasn't in Z.
Right.
And so what I would call is an awe pull. It was a Z pull towards something of interest. And so we were, really fabricating that the hard way in the older games. But it was like, let's make that real. So we're really moving in the world in these dimensions, but that stability and that consistency is in the controls all the time. And so we created 2 things we called. One was Oddwalk, which meant it would do all these things, and the characters are ultimately on sort of rails that hopefully you don't notice too much, But then all of that had to work in the 3rd dimension. And so it was just like blew up all the code we thought we'd be amortizing from new and tasty. It's just like, and had we known, we would have switched engines early to get into something that's, more robust for AAA. But you live and learn on different fronts. And that led to, so Oddwalk was how the character nav would happen. And like, well, if an elevator comes, let me just say a couple other things that get more complex in our game where Abe is always rescuing guys is you have followers and they can be left behind. They're trying to get to you. So the navigation becomes a whole nother order of magnitude difficult. And it would have been so much easier if it were free roaming. Like, oddly enough, you go, it would have been so much easier to just do like Stranger or Munch did, Stranger, we did a better job with it. But, and it was like, oh, you open so many cans of worms.